Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Reviews with yours truly, R. Adrianus. I promised you earlier this week that I was going to be doing a review for X-Men Battle of the Atom, the Marvel event that just finished up recently. It was all throughout the. Getting some notes here. It was all throughout the X-Men issues that are being currently run, so that's comprised of All New X-Men, X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, and all those were tied into the event. And in order to kind of keep up with what was going on in that story, you needed to be reading those issues. So, yeah, I want to do the review for you guys, but just a quick note, if you want to kind of get the full experience of the event, be sure to read those issues up until the beginning of the event. Don't try to just jump into it because you're going to be missing a lot. But just some quick background on Battle of the Atom for those of you who are interested, who do want to know, what's going on before everything goes down. Right now in the Marvel universe, the mutants are in kind of they're in a major social strife with each other and with humanity. There are essentially two mutant factions. One faction which is led by Wolverine, Storm, Kitty Pryde. Those are kind of the main leader characters, namely Wolverine, and they run the Jean Grey School, which is essentially what the Charles Xavier School was early on in X-Men generations prior. And they're trying to follow the legacy of Charles Xavier, and and also memorialize Jean Grey who died. But we are in a post Avengers vs X-Men world. In Avengers vs X-Men, spoilers coming up. Spoilers. Charles Xavier was killed by none other than Cyclops, who had been taken over by the Phoenix Force along with other members of the X-Men. And so Cyclops was later in prison and then broke free, and he started his own faction. He started his own school, and he calls his school the Charles Xavier Institute. And it's hidden. It's like a secret base in the north. It's really crazy, and he's trying to enlist mutants who are appearing all over the world because of the Phoenix Force, the events of Avengers vs X-Men. He's trying to enlist all these mutants under his banner. And you're at that whole which side are you really on? Wolverine tries to do the whole cooperation and prove that mutants aren't a menace, try to work with everybody, try to take diplomatic steps towards integration, whereas Cyclops, he's a straight rebel renegade who's trying to make a point, take a stance against humanity because he still feels that mutants aren't being accepted and being taking care of the way that they should. And that's basically what goes on during All New X-Men and Uncanny X-Men. X-Men itself actually focuses more on characters, like more an intimate group, not a broader group. Just some people at the Jean Grey School, and that's it. So, done for your background. To the review, X-Men Battle of the Atom. So, X-Men Battle of the Atom actually takes place over the course of 10 issues. It is, excuse me here, it is a fairly good ride. It's very entertaining. The premise of X-Men Battle of the Atom is that there are these X-Men from the future who are coming to the present day Marvel Universe to tell the X-Men, hey, you know those young kids who you took from their timeline, which is the plot of All New X-Men. They took the original X-Men and they wanted to bring them to the current timeline to help out. And yeah, so we have a future X-Men team who come to the present and say, hey, these kids from the past need to go back to the past. It's really confusing because you essentially have three X-Men generations existing amongst each other in one space, and it's very weird because then you'll have, at any given point, three Beasts, you'll have three Iceman, and it's really weird. Two Jean Greys, it's very funky. It is cool. It has a lot of little notes and futuristic Easter eggs, you might call them, little fun things that you can see. Like, for example, this is a review, guys, so more spoilers ahead. It's really cool because in the future you find out that Jubilee is one of the leaders of the X-Men team, so she grows up to be that leader character, kind of follows in Wolverine's shoes, actually takes on the name Wolverine as kind of her identity, superhero identity. Her son, which is this little baby during the X-Men, the current X-Men line right now, who she has adopted. This kid apparently becomes some sort of tech genius and kind of becomes the next Iron Man, called Sentinel X. So yeah, you have these future X-Men. Turns out that some of the X-Men from the future aren't really who they say. They're actually Brotherhood mutants. And it ends up culminating in this giant battle where you have the future Brotherhood trying to tell the current X-Men, hey, get these kids out of here. That's going to mess up the timeline. And then you have the future X-Men coming to the current X-Men as well, following after the Brotherhood, saying, hey, these guys are lying. They're trying to lead you astray. And we'll see if we can help you figure out things. And that's basically it. It's really confusing, though, unfortunately. A lot of the panel art is sometimes indistinguishable. They don't transition very well because the series, the 10 issues, is drawn by various artists. It is written by Brian Michael Bendis, but yeah, the artistry does shift, and it serves it really well in certain issues, and then it falters in others. More specifically, I believe it was in issue 8 of Battle of the Atom, where they draw a scene where Iceman, current Iceman, is speaking with the future X-Men and then his own X-Men team. And then in the very next page, they transition to a scene where they have the Cyclops team, and they're actually with the young X-Men, the past X-Men. And then you have Iceman there as well, and he's dressed almost exactly the same. It's very confusing to see this because you almost see like, wait, hold on, Iceman was just with them, and now he's with them, and it doesn't seem to make sense. But if you pay very close attention, you'll notice that one Iceman is wearing shorts, the other Iceman is wearing pants, and then you can be like, oh yeah, it's the younger one, and that was the current one. But it's little things like that where the art needs to be a lot more distinguishable. They needed to take little points like that to make sure the audience isn't led astray, isn't distracted, because then you start picking at that stuff as opposed to paying attention to the greater story. Um, the one shining moment in art for Battle of the Atom was issue 10 with one of my favorite artists, Esad Ribic, who contributed his artistry to the final issue, which I thought was very great. Ribic does such great work with characters and grand scenes. So when you have this moment when you see all of the X-Men of different generations kind of standing united together, it's really momentous. You see it only because of Ribic's work. I think that other artists, there would have been very few who could have captured that majesty during that scene. So it was very cool stuff. Issue 10 was a good moment. Final spoiler, and we're gonna be wrapping up the review. Issue 10, the Battle of the Atom is exactly what it seems like. It's a battle. That's what it came down to. It came down to the future X-Men and the current X-Men facing off against the Brotherhood of Mutants from the future, and also various Sentinel things going on, which isn't really consequential. And eventually, the story ends with Kitty Pryde and the young X-Men, the X-Men from the past, joining Cyclops' regime, and that's it. It ends with just a side switch, and which is really unfortunate because Battle of the Atom, it was supposed to kind of have greater implications. There's supposed to be a lot more consequences to this time travel debacle, and you don't have that. You just have kind of a change of heart at the end, and that's kind of something that you could have done in maybe the series of 2 issues. You kind of could have built up to that and still done a very good job instead of going through the song and dance of an entire event. You do get your fair share of deaths in this series, but they're namely future characters, like future Jubilee unfortunately falls and future Colossus falls, excuse me, in this timeline, in the current Marvel timeline, because they came back. They are killed, but what how does that really matter? I mean, you still have the current Jubilee, who she's alive, and the current Colossus, who's still alive. For all you know, they might live lives that may not end up, having them go into the past and die during a great battle. They might live into their old and gray, and it's one of the things that with Marvel, the comic books in general, future timelines, you don't really give them that much weight because everything changes, and they change so frequently. So yeah, the deaths were sad, especially for the future characters, because those were their people that they know that were true to them. So yes, it was a little sad, but in the end, you're like, this may not even happen in the future. So yeah, that's what it comes down to. So yeah, a really grandiose change of heart, a couple of deaths that really weren't that big of a deal. That's essentially what happens at the end of X-Men Battle of the Atom. It's entertaining, some fun time travel stuff, good to see like future cast members, but that was about it. Unfortunately, I can't recommend Battle of the Atom for X-Men fans, even X-Men fans who I've spoken to have read the event have been very tepid about their response. So that's what it comes down to. So read it at your own discretion. You may love it. Unfortunately, I did not. But those are my thoughts on X Men Battle of the Atom. Thank you for being with me for this review. We're going to be doing another sit downs later this week and maybe some more reviews, and we'll do some vlog posts and whatnot. But until then, everyone have a great Sunday, and we'll be seeing you soon. Bye.